What if I told you that 6 American states are staring down the barrel of an economic disaster this summer? And the cause? Canadian tourists are ghosting the US. Yeah, you heard that right. The neighbors from the north, who usually flood our roads, hotels, and shops each summer, are pulling back in a big way. And the impact? It's already being felt. Back in 2024, over 20 million Canadians crossed the border to visit the US. They spent a whopping $20.5 billion, fueling hotels, restaurants, and theme parks, keeping over 140,000 American jobs alive. But now, that steady stream is drying up. In 2025, Air Canada bookings to U.S. cities have dropped by more than 70%. Cross-border road trips down 23%. So what changed? Well, rising political tensions are turning what used to be a friendly summer ritual into a point of friction. Recent comments from the Trump campaign and new U.S. travel policies are making many Canadians feel unwelcome. So instead of beaches in Florida or shopping in New York, they're heading somewhere else, especially Mexico, where Canadian tourism is booming. From Maine to Arizona, entire towns rely on Canadian dollars to survive the summer season. Now, hotels are slashing prices just to stay afloat. Souvenir shops are seeing more dust than dollars. Even major theme parks are reporting sluggish early summer attendance. This isn't just a slow season, it's a red flag. A potential collapse in local economies that depend on tourism dollars. So, which 6 states are most at risk of taking this economic gut punch? You might be surprised by some of the names on the list and how deep the damage could go if Canadians don't return. Stick around, because in the next few minutes, we're breaking down each one. What's at risk, who's being hit the hardest, and what might happen next. Let's dive in. Number 6. Vermont. Tucked away in the northeast, Vermont is famous for its stunning green mountains, charming small towns, and, you guessed it, world-class maple syrup. For decades, it's been a favorite summer escape for Canadian tourists, especially folks just over the border in Quebec. In 2024, Canadians pumped millions of dollars into Vermont's $3 billion tourism economy. They filled up cozy inns, packed farm-to-table restaurants, browsed local artisan shops, and flocked to natural gems like Lake Champlain and Mount Mansfield. But fast forward to 2025, and the story takes a sharp turn. Canadian travel to the U.S. has plunged. Airline bookings are down over 70%, and road trips dropped 23%. For border states like Vermont, that's not just a dip, it's a blow. The reasons? A cocktail of rising political tensions, stricter U.S. border policies, and a growing Canadian push to vacation elsewhere. The result? A reliable summer pipeline of visitors has all but dried up. Local businesses are feeling the squeeze. Bed and breakfasts are sitting half empty. Outdoor tour guides are canceling trips. Farmers markets are seeing sales tumble by 30% or more. In tight-knit Vermont towns where every tourist dollar counts, those losses aren't just hurting the bottom line, they're threatening entire livelihoods. Sure, Vermont is trying to pivot, launching new campaigns to attract more American visitors. But loyal Canadian travelers are hard to replace, and weekend drives from Boston don't always bring the same consistency or spending power. For a state where 1 in 7 jobs is tied to tourism, the long-term impact could be serious, and Vermont isn't the only one bracing for impact. Number 5. Michigan. Now let's head to the Great Lakes, where Michigan shares more than just a border with Canada. There's history, industry, and deep personal connections between communities on both sides. In 2024, Canadian visitors, mainly from Ontario, poured billions into Michigan's $25 billion tourism economy. They came for weekend shopping trips. In Detroit, fishing getaways near Sault Ste. Marie, and big league sports action. But in 2025, that familiar rhythm has broken. Border towns are quieter. Malls, casinos, lakefront rentals, they're seeing foot traffic dry up. Some businesses are reporting revenue drops of up to 30%. Even major events are taking hits. Arenas once buzzing with Canadian fans now have empty seats. Festivals that drew big crowds across the border are feeling a chill. Hotels that used to count on weekend bookings? Half full. Michigan's tourism board is scrambling to spark more domestic travel. But here's the thing. Canadian dollars came in reliably, in large numbers, and at high volume. That kind of loss can't be fixed overnight. This isn't just a slow season. It's a fundamental threat to the stability of border town economies, built around Canadian tourism. And here's the kicker: Michigan's not alone. One of America's most iconic vacation hotspots is facing the same kind of fallout, only bigger. Stick around, because next, we're heading to a sunny state that's suddenly feeling the chill of vanishing Canadian dollars. Number 4. Florida. Let's talk about Florida, the Sunshine State, theme park capital of the world, and a longtime favorite of our neighbors to the north. For decades, Florida has been a go-to destination for Canadian tourists. From snowbirds escaping the brutal winters to families lining up at Disney World and Universal Studios, Canadians haven't just been visitors, they've been a driving force behind Florida's booming tourism economy. In 2024, more than 3 million Canadians came down, dropping over $4 billion into local communities. But 2025, it's looking like a different story. Thanks to rising political tensions and controversial travel policies, a growing number of Canadians are rethinking their Florida getaways. Some are even joining a movement to boycott U.S. travel altogether. The impact, you can already feel it in the air. From Miami to Orlando to Fort Lauderdale, Air Canada bookings to Florida cities have dropped dramatically. Rental homes in snowbird hotspots are sitting vacant. Hotels, retail shops, and beach cafes are reporting softer sales and slower foot traffic. Even the big guys, Orlando's theme parks, are seeing noticeable dips in international attendance. And that trickles down fast. Seasonal jobs are being cut, hours reduced, and smaller businesses like souvenir stores and boat tour operators are struggling just to stay afloat. Florida's tourism board is firing up campaigns targeting domestic and Latin American travelers, but filling the shoes of millions of loyal Canadians is easier said than done. And just as Florida scrambles to plug the leak, number 3. Arizona. Out west, Arizona has carved out a special place in the hearts of Canadian retirees. Sunny winters, stunning desert views, world-class golf courses. It's the full package for seasonal living. In 2024, those Canadian snowbirds brought serious dollars with them, contributing heavily to Arizona's $24 billion tourism industry. We're talking long-term rentals, healthcare services, real estate deals, golf memberships, you name it. But here in 2025, that dependable crowd is fading fast. RV parks that used to have waitlists now have rows of empty lots. Golf resorts are reporting a wave of cancellations. Even home sales to Canadian buyers have slowed dramatically. Some are pulling out altogether, nervous about the political climate, or worried about tighter travel restrictions. And it's not just politics. Exchange rates, higher travel costs, visa uncertainties, they're all adding up. Small towns and retirement communities that built their economy around seasonal visitors are left scrambling. Businesses are slashing prices, offering last-minute deals, and pivoting hard to attract domestic retirees. But the results? Still mixed. The absence of Canadian snowbirds is leaving more than just hotel rooms empty. It's creating a real economic gap. And as Arizona tries to steady the ship, there's another state, one of the most iconic, internationally recognized cities in America, that's now feeling the sting of disappearing tourists. Number 2, New York. New York, the Empire State. From the bright lights of Times Square to the quiet charm of Niagara Falls, it's long been a favorite getaway for Canadian travelers. In 2024, Canadians made up a sizable slice of the 67 million visitors who poured into New York. Whether it was for Broadway shows, world-famous museums, high-end shopping, or just a weekend hop across the border to Buffalo, our northern neighbors played a big role in fueling the state's massive $117 billion tourism industry. But in 2025, that familiar cross-border buzz is fading fast. Recent political tensions, shifting travel advisories, and a growing push within Canada to support local and alternative international destinations have changed the game. Here's the result. New York City alone is expected to lose more than 800,000 international tourists this year, and over half of them are Canadians. Manhattan hotels are seeing sharp dips in bookings. Retailers, especially in border towns like Niagara Falls and Plattsburgh, are watching their revenue slide. Even Broadway, the heartbeat of NYC entertainment, is seeing slower international ticket sales than usual. And this isn't just about big business. From corner coffee shops to gift stores, the drop in Canadian foot traffic is having real consequences for small entrepreneurs. While New York ramps up efforts to recover its global tourist appeal, a much smaller state in the Northeast is already knee-deep in the fallout. Number 1. Maine. If New York is the urban magnet, then Maine is the peaceful retreat. Think rocky coastlines, quaint harbor towns, and those fresh lobster rolls that keep folks coming back every summer. For Canadians, especially those from Quebec and New Brunswick, Maine has always felt like an easy escape. In 2024 alone, they poured over $1 billion into Maine's $6.2 billion tourism economy. That's no small chunk of change, especially for a state that relies so heavily on seasonal travel. But in 2025, the winds have shifted, and not in Maine's favor. Border traffic is way down. Tourist towns like Bar Harbor, Old Orchard Beach, and Portland are seeing early-season slowdowns. Inns and B&Bs that once booked solid through summer are now scrambling to fill rooms, and shops and restaurants, so dependent on warm weather travelers, are starting to feel the pinch. The biggest concern? Timing. Maine's tourism season is short. Businesses depend on just a few good months to survive the rest of the year. Now, some owners are cutting staff or reducing hours just to make ends meet. Unlike larger states, Maine doesn't have the luxury of massive domestic foot traffic to make up for what it's losing from Canada. The absence of Canadian tourists in 2025 isn't just a travel shift. It's an economic red flag. Whether you're talking about the busy boulevards of New York or the scenic shores of Maine, the impact is being felt far and wide. For businesses, employees, and entire communities, who shows up or doesn't really does matter. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, tourism isn't just about travel. It's about people, livelihoods, and connection. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.